Welcome back, everyone, to Classic Nostalgia Shows. Tonight, we're stepping back, way back, into a world of flickering movie palaces, glowing silver screens, and, honestly, a kind of magic that often feels lost today.
That's right, John. We're talking about the unforgettable magic of black and white cinema. I mean, for a lot of younger viewers, or even people who just haven't explored it much, black and white movies can seem, well, distant, right? Old-fashioned, maybe even a little daunting to watch at first.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. For millions of people around the world, myself included, black and white films still hold a kind of power and allure that modern, high-tech movies sometimes struggle to capture. And we want to understand why.
Why do audiences keep returning to these films decade after decade? What is it about black and white movies that still feels so incredibly timeless? Tonight, we're really diving deep into why people still love them, and why these classics continue to survive long after the era that created them disappeared.
So, dim the lights and let's step back into Hollywood's golden age. To truly appreciate black and white movies, I think we first have to understand the world they came from.
That's a crucial point, John. For the first half of the 20th century, black and white filmmaking wasn't a stylistic choice. It was just movies. Audiences didn't think of films as black and white. That was cinema. There wasn't really an alternative for a long time.
Exactly. And during those decades, Hollywood, through its great studios, MGM, Warner Bros., Paramount, RKO, 20th Century Fox, produced thousands of films that fundamentally shaped global entertainment forever. I mean, they were the absolute titans of the industry.
People crowded into these giant, opulent movie palaces every single week. It was a huge event. And for many families, especially during incredibly tough times like the Great Depression and World War II, movies offered a vital escape, a real moment of adventure, romance, comedy, and, dare I say, hope.
Hope, absolutely. And in that environment, black and white cinematography became an art form all its own. They mastered it out of necessity, but it became something truly beautiful.
It's true, and that leads us to one of the biggest reasons people still connect with these films. They feel dreamlike. Color films often strive for realism, to make you feel like you're really there. But black and white films? They often feel mythical, timeless.
Yeah, there's something strangely powerful about just shadows, light, and contrast without the distraction of color. Directors really learned how to use lighting almost like painters, crafting every single shot. Think about a face partly hidden in darkness or rain-soaked city streets at night.
Oh, absolutely. Or fog drifting through alleyways, moonlight shining across a vast western landscape. Black and white cinematography really forced filmmakers to think visually in a completely different way. They had to rely on composition, tone, and texture to convey emotion and atmosphere, and audiences still respond to that artistic depth today.
Especially in genres like film noir, horror, westerns, and classic dramas. Many fans, myself included, would argue some of these movies actually lose their power when they're colorized. Because the black and white imagery wasn't just a limitation, it was part of the storytelling itself.
Completely agree, it's integral. And another huge reason these films remain so beloved? The stars. Classic Hollywood created icons that felt larger than life. Think about it. Humphrey Bogart, Bette Davis, James Stewart, Cary Grant, Barbara Stanwyck, Boris Karloff.
Absolute legends. And they became legends partly because black and white photography made them appear almost unreal, elegant, mysterious, absolutely larger than ordinary life. The lighting techniques of the era emphasized facial expressions and emotion in ways that modern digital cinematography sometimes just doesn't capture.
Right, you remember those faces forever. That's why even a single still image from an old movie can instantly evoke this wave of nostalgia. There's an almost sculptural quality to their faces in those lights and shadows.
It's so true. And speaking of how these films are different, I think we also have to talk about the power of simplicity. Modern movies often move at an incredibly fast pace, right? Constant edits, huge effects, endless noise.
Oh, absolutely. It can be exhausting sometimes, frankly. But black and white films often move differently, slower, more patient. And a lot of viewers today actually find that comforting, almost meditative.
They really do. Classic films often focused heavily on dialogue, atmosphere, deep character development, building tension, and raw emotion instead of just overwhelming audiences visually. You had time to absorb the scenes, to listen, to really watch the actors perform.
And because of that, many classic films feel surprisingly intimate even today. You feel more connected to the characters and their plight because there aren't a million distractions pulling your eye away. It's a different kind of immersion.
Definitely. Now, of course, we can't talk about loving old movies without talking about the nostalgia factor. For older generations, black and white movies are so deeply connected to memory. They remember family television nights, neighborhood theaters, those late-night movie hosts, Saturday westerns, old horror marathons.
Oh yeah, a single movie can transport someone back 50 or 60 years emotionally. That's incredibly powerful. But what's really interesting is that younger audiences also continue discovering black and white films. And it's not just about inherited nostalgia.
That's what I find fascinating. Why is that? I think it's because great storytelling survives generations. A powerful film doesn't just stop being powerful because technology changes. Younger viewers often discover something refreshing in classic cinema. Sincerity.
Sincerity, absolutely. Many old films wore their emotions openly, without irony, without cynicism. And modern audiences, myself included, sometimes crave that authenticity. It feels, I don't know, more genuine in a way.
It really does. Black and white cinema also gave us some of the greatest genres in movie history, practically inventing them in their modern forms. Film noir, for example, created these unforgettable crime dramas, full of shadows and moral ambiguity.
And classic horror. It introduced monsters that remain iconic nearly a century later. I mean, Universal's monster films starring Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff still influence horror today. They set the blueprint.
Totally. Westerns, too, established so many of the storytelling rules that modern action films still follow. And classic comedies from stars like Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin, The Three Stooges, they continue making audiences laugh generations later. My kids still watch The Stooges.
Mine too. It's amazing. So black and white films weren't limited, they were foundational. Modern entertainment as we know it was literally built on them.
That's a perfect way to put it. Now, by the 1950s and 60s, color filmmaking became more common, and television was growing rapidly. Studios wanted spectacle to compete, you know? Color became the new standard. And slowly, black and white films started to feel old to younger audiences.
Yeah, some people just automatically assumed older films were boring simply because they lacked color. It's a shame, really, because they were missing so much. But then, something kind of unexpected happened.
The classics survived. Through late-night television, revival theaters, home video, DVD collections, and now streaming services. Every new generation rediscovered at least some of these films. Because truly great cinema doesn't disappear. It waits to be rediscovered, right?
It absolutely does, and today I think black and white films feel almost rebellious in a way. In a world overloaded with CGI, hyper-editing, non-stop stimulation, classic cinema feels quieter, more focused, more human.
I totally agree. There's also a certain emotional distance created by black and white imagery that strangely makes films feel more universal. The absence of color removes those minor distractions.
Exactly. You just focus on the essentials: faces, movement, emotion, light, and pure storytelling. And that's why so many filmmakers today still intentionally shoot in black and white, because they understand its profound emotional power.
Like Schindler's List, The Artist, Roma, these films prove that modern audiences can still deeply connect with monochrome storytelling. It's not a relic, it's a deliberate artistic choice.
It truly is, and part of the fascination with black and white movies, for me, is that they preserve lost worlds. Old cities, old fashions, old manners, old speech patterns. Watching these films can feel almost like time travel.
You're seeing how people spoke, how they dressed, how entertainment evolved, what audiences once dreamed about. Classic films preserve cultural memory in a really tangible way, and people are naturally drawn to the past, especially during uncertain times.
Nostalgia offers comfort, doesn't it? And black and white movies are some of the most powerful nostalgia machines ever created. They just hit you right in the feels.
They really do. So when you look at it all, black and white movies have survived changing technology, the rise of television, VHS, streaming, changing tastes, changing generations. And they're still here, still being watched, still being discussed.
Why? Because the best films were never dependent on technology alone. Great acting still matters, great stories still matter, great emotion still matters. And black and white cinema captured those things so beautifully, so purely.
These films remind us that entertainment doesn't need massive budgets or hyper-modern effects to leave a lasting impact. Sometimes, all you need is a great story, unforgettable characters, brilliant use of light and shadow, and just a little movie magic.
That's perfectly said, John. Black and white movies may belong to another era, but they absolutely continue speaking to modern audiences because, ultimately, great storytelling never truly grows old.
They remind us of Hollywood's golden age, of simpler nights gathered around televisions, of movie palaces filled with wonder, and of the timeless power of cinema itself. Thanks for joining me tonight on Classic Nostalgia Shows, Annie.
My pleasure, John. It was a fantastic topic. And to all our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment sharing your favorite black and white movie, I'd love to hear them, and let us know which classic film or television topic we should explore next.
Until next time, everyone, keep the classics alive.